Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. I want to start off with Paulina for a minute because I'm going to be completely honest. There is things that she is doing that is just not adding up. Okay, first she talks to Ray without a lawyer. Mind you, when she was with the cops earlier, she was like, "Well, I got nothing to say without my lawyer." Cool, that's smart. That's smart. That's a good play. All right. So when the officer, whoever comes in there, you sit there and say lawyer. Okay, it's not hard. You just say lawyer, and you get them to sit there and do all the talking. This is what you pay them for. This is what This is what you work so hard for. To sit there and pay people to not deal with this type of stuff. Yeah, I'll talk to you without my lawyer. What the? So she tells Rafe how everything happened, how she managed to get Lonnie's gun. I'm like, oh, this should be a good one. So she tells him. And, she basically is like, I shot him because he was dangerous. Even though Lonnie was about to arrest him, we didn't know. He's just so much of a dangerous person that I didn't want to take any chances. Okay, well, it's not exactly the worst story I've heard. By the way, you didn't happen to run this past, Lonnie, right? Because she gets questioned and her story doesn't match your story, we're going to have a problem. I mean, that's how these things would generally play out. They would sit there and ask Lonnie, they would sit there and ask Lonnie that night, along with Paulina. But instead, they waited a whole 24 hours and some change before they decide they want to get to Lonnie. So that gave them plenty of time to sit there and come up with a story. And of course, Lonnie does get down there. She talks to Paulina and Lonnie. She's not comfortable with the idea of Paulina taking her out for this. Hell, she had a dream about Ray. She had a dream about him. She's feeling guilty, and she comes there, and she's not happy about this. But Paulina's like, listen, if you get convicted, you can go to jail, you can lose your husband, you can lose your kids. Let me do this for you. She's not comfortable with the idea, but she does sit there and tell her what happened. Well, she does sit there and tell her events of how this story is going to play out. The same story that she told Ray. So I'm like, okay, at least she's in on the plan now, which is stupid because you told the story without. Anyway, she tells her that's what happened. And of course, she has to sit there and reiterate for the new people coming in. Well, that's not how that happened. It happened in X, Y, and Z. I was like, my goodness, I'm so glad that there's no recordings. There's no one recording in this room while you sat there and just said, no, it didn't happen this way. It happened that way. I'm just so glad that didn't happen. Um, but she does convince her to go along with the story. And, Paulina wants to use the PTSD as a defense. Um, he's like, hey, you know what? Listen, this may work. It's a good chance. I'm like, did you talk to your lawyer about this? Are you going to talk to your lawyer about this? At some point, you're going to get your lawyer, right? Are you just going to rep yourself? Like, what are you doing? What happens if you get arraigned? Like, come on. Um, Abe at first was talking to Steve, and the snit they're talking about the gun and how she got how Paulina got her hands on the gun because Steve was like, yo, this ain't adding up. And when Eli comes in the room and Steve leaves, because then they talk about Trip or whatever, um, when Eli comes in there, Eli says something along the lines of, this happened right after the shooting, when Lonnie was like, well, why would Paulina say that? Why would Paulina sit there? I can't exactly remember what he said, But he says something that doesn't make any sense. Not everyone's there thinking that Paulina um shot Ray. It was a line that she said, and he was like, "Well, why would she say that for?" And of course, Abe is there. At some point he was dreaming about hearing voices, and he said to Eli, he was like, "I could have swore I heard Paulina Smith there saying, 'What have you done?'" And then they both draw the conclusion of, "You don't think Lonnie shot Ray?" So they're both at that conclusion, especially with what she said that didn't really make a lot of sense. And him, Abe Smith remembering hearing voices and hearing Paulina's voice. Well, now you don't got this man another cover up. I couldn't understand in the beginning of why Xander wanted to keep this lie going to Sarah about, because, Sarah's at this point thinking that her baby's still alive. And they're just both playing along. And it is one point where Maggie's there talking to Xander, and Maggie's like, "Yo, how come he didn't say anything yet? Like, we gotta tell the truth at some point." And Sarah gets down there, and Xander continues to lie, and Maggie leaves, and Xander continues his lie. At some point, Sarah goes upstairs, and Maggie comes back downstairs, and you finally find out. Well, here's the thing: people who've been watching this show, they probably already know. But for me personally, I found out that, or some people, whatever, found out that the reason why Xander is lying to Sarah about the baby is because once he sits there and tells her the events that happened, he's afraid that Sarah's going to leave him again. And Maggie's like, "Yo, listen, she already forgave you once. She'll do it again." And I'm just like, Xander's just like, "Well, let's just keep lying to her until I come up with something." I'm like, so you clearly didn't learn a damn thing from Gwen, didn't you? You didn't learn a damn thing from Gwen at this point. Gwen was lying to you for a hot minute, and when you found out, you were betrayed. You were hurt. You were angry. And what are you doing to Sarah? You're lying right to her again. Like, bro, you didn't. Xander isn't exactly known for his brains and, like, thorough thinking, is he? I mean, I know I've been watching the show for a little bit, but he does not seem like the type of person that's thinking sound and logic and reasoning. It just doesn't really compute with him. Because I'm just like, at some point, Sarah's going to find out. You're like, it was one point he was just saying, "Oh, well, Nicole has her," or, he's with, the baby was with Eric. And during that whole storyline that I was not aware of, I mean, that I didn't watch and I wasn't a part of as far as watching it, so I don't really know the ins and outs of that story. But he's all like, "Oh yeah, Eric has them, and we wasn't really too sure was he gonna come out of this whole thing. So, we'll both drive down there to Nicole's, and we'll take care of this whole thing. And all you gotta do is go upstairs, finds Eric, and it's like, I need you to do me a favor." Meanwhile, Sarah, is knocking at Nicole's door, and when she answers, she's like, "Oh, we gotta talk." So now I'm just like, this should be great. I personally cannot wait until this blows up in Xander's face. I really can't. I really can't wait till this blows up in Sarah and Xander's face, because this is going to be hilarious. Now, before then, Nicole was not there talking to Eric. First of all, after she was on the phone and she was there talking about, "Oh, Allie is safe," and this, that, and the third, I'm just like, you're not even going to bother to sit there and mention that Tripp was the one that damn nearly sacrificed his life. He did sacrifice his life for Allie, but you're always like, "Oh, a lot of stuff happened and Allie's safe," and I'm just like, So you're just not gonna sit there and mention Trick's name at all, right? That's just wow. Okay, lady. So she comes to the door and she's thinking that it's rape, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make love to you," and Eric comes to the door like, "Uh, what?" And she's all like, "Oh, I'm sorry." They get to talking, and Eric is like, "I'm leaving. I'm leaving Sally." Now Nicole is an idiot. Okay, I couldn't. I know I want to insult her some way, but I just couldn't sit there and think of a right insult. She comes out of her mouth and she's like, not to sound all self-centered, but are you leaving because of me? Are you leaving because I'm with Rafe? Egotistical. I'm like, this chick really feels that Eric's world just revolves around her. He was like, no, I'm not, I'm happy for, and literally, he did sit there and say he was happy for her. But somehow in her tiny mind, the reason why he's leaving is because of her. Not because he wants to go back there and help the people out there, has relationships out there, could even be seeing someone out there. No, 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 no. It's all because he has to get away from her. He's so tortured and jealous and hurt and everything like that that he can't bear it one more minute. Like this chick, the sad thing is that I would expect Gabby to say something like that. I would expect Gabby to say something like that. And I know Nicole was the bad girl back in the day, but I'm just like, hey, remember a while back when she had her hairstyle in this weird way and she had this weird makeup going on and this lipstick that just didn't work for her and we were just kind of looking like, honestly, to tell you the truth, I thought, I was like, that had to be a mask because that could not have been your face. And I'm sitting there saying that kind of just like, you really just like I'm starting to think about the fashion sense that she had on when she decided to get out of bed, and that was the first thing that she thought about when she was putting on her makeup is to sit there and look like she was wearing a damn mask. But yeah. So anyway, they talk, they hug. Rafe comes in there, and Rafe is like, "Wow, that was some hug." But she quells his jealousy and everything like that, and so they make out and guess about to sit there and jump in the shower. But of course, Sarah comes over and Sarah's pretty much like, where's my damn baby at? And of course, Xander, the jackass that he is, just didn't bother to sit there and tell her. So. I don't know why, but I, I feel like I missed something, but I feel like that's about it, though. But I always feel like I missed something. Um, this episode was okay. It wasn't super great. I felt like it just relied more on characters, and by that, I mean, like, when I was sitting there watching GH yesterday, episode wasn't really that great. But I enjoyed the characters, and I feel like that's the same thing with this episode. Like, it wasn't super great, but I enjoyed the characters, so it worked. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, if you miss this episode, you really wouldn't have missed a lot. It really wouldn't. So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.